Hello, everyone. Hello to everybody in the chat. Welcome. My name's Natalie, and this is Scientology Life After a Cult. On this channel, I break down the Scientology news that has the internet buzzing from my perspective as someone who spent 35 years in Scientology and then left with 3 generations of her family. Boom, out of there, got away. Welcome. And if you're catching this on the replay, jump into the comments. I want to hear your questions and what you think about what we talk about as well. Couple housekeeping points. If you have a question, if you could write question in all caps and then your question, that would help me a lot in being able to keep an eye on those in the chat. I'm going to answer questions mostly towards the end of this. So keep them in there. The super chats get automatically started and are easy to find. And the other ones I need to actually keep an eye out for. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Big thank you to my mods, who I always like to say are the best moderators on YouTube. I think we have Nancy's here and my Tony's here. I got to keep an eye, see if Dip Me and Glitter pops in, but appreciate all your help as usual. I'm getting over a cold. It knocked me on my butt yesterday after my live. I finished my live and then pretty much was laid up after that. But through the magic of modern cold medicine, here I am. So we're going to take this... we might be taking it a little slow today because, man, that really did knock me out. But I am doing better. And thank you so much for your well wishes and thoughts on that. It's just a cold, not a big deal. Good morning to everyone. I really love seeing you all here in the chat. So where to start? We are going to talk about the protesters who showed up at Jimmy Kimmel's show looking for Elizabeth Moss and having questions for Jimmy Kimmel as well as Elizabeth Moss in regard to Scientology. We're going to talk about how these protests are picking up, and then there's like these seeds kind of starting all over the country. I've got some new videos, some new locations where people are showing up to do their own First Amendment audit with Scientology and film and share and see what happens. We're also going to address questions around Mike Rinder and talk about down the rabbit hole news, what Rabbit shared yesterday. We're going to talk about that too, so hold tight. One thing I do know, it used to be you go to Hollywood, you do the Hollywood tour, you do the tour of stars' homes, right? You do a tour of the Walk of Fame where you see all the stars on there. That is so 2023. In 2024, it seems that the fun tourist attraction is to protest Scientology. I got a fun clip coming up of that where some local tourists wanted to jump in and help out. And I thought it just really says so much about what people think about this and Scientology and their passion for writing, for stopping abuses, frankly. That's the simplicity of it. I think that the vast majority of people would agree that the things that are happening in Scientology, the abuses, the manipulation, that there needs to be a stop to that. And people outside of Scientology know way more about it than many of the people that are in Scientology. Because remember, it's hidden from them. Because first rule of being in Scientology, don't talk about Scientology unless you're sharing a win, the way that it changed your life, the way that you owe all this gratitude to Scientology and David Miscavige, of course, or L. Ron Hubbard. So they can clap and hip hip hooray all they want. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is looking at what's going on and being mortified by it, which they should. So let's kick it off. I wanted to talk a little bit about, let's talk about the whole Elizabeth Moss thing. So she grew up in Scientology. In fact, when she was a kid, I must be a decent amount. Well, I know I'm a decent amount older than her because I was an adult when I remember seeing her as a child at the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles. And you don't see many kids in that area getting auditing or Scientology services there. And that's what stood up to me. And this was before she became, she was a child then. So a lot of people know who she is from The Handmaid's Tale. Also from, she's done a couple shows. It's interesting to me how they seem like they're pretty dark, a lot of what she does. And she is a phenomenal actress. She is. There's no arguing that. She's good at what she does. What we'd like to see her do, though, is address some of these questions about Scientology, especially since she grew up in it. And we know that celebrities are, they have a whole different, they're treated differently in Scientology, usually. Unless you're a celebrity trying to leave, then all bets are off. And she's no exception to that. There's what she does or does not know. We don't know for sure. I would suspect she doesn't choose to know and find out about what so many people who have come forward about the abuses in Scientology have shared. I don't, sometimes I think that Scientologists and celebrities make a conscious choice to really not look at it so they have deniability about it, even though they're not supposed to, right? It's against the rules in Scientology to do that. You get in trouble for it. But I feel like they're even more isolated in ways because Scientology, if you're a big enough celebrity, you show up, they make sure like no one's getting in the elevator with you, no one's around who might look like they're not living their best life. They get rid of those people. So it's very much like that. Elizabeth Moss did an interview with Vanity Fair. We're just going to take a quick look at that. This was a while ago. I think it was 2022. And Elizabeth Moss speaks out on Scientology, from Handmaid's Tale criticism to profane Emmy speech. So the gist, I linked it below so you can read the whole thing. And she doesn't really talk about it. Like, here's what she said. So Elizabeth Moss addressed her religious ties to the Church of Scientology in more detail than usual during an interview with The New Yorker. The Mad Men and the Handmaid's Tale actor has been a Scientologist since before she was a teenager. And that's when I saw her. It was definitely before the teen years, but has rarely spoken about her relationship to the group in press interviews. And this is a quote from her. "I don't want to come off as being cagey," Moss said when the topic of Scientology was first brought up. "If you and I met just hanging out as friends, I'm like an open book about it. But I don't want people to be distracted by something when they're watching me. I want them to be seeing the character. I feel like when actors reveal too much of their lives, I'm sometimes watching something and I'm going, oh, I know that she just broke up with that person, or I know that she loves to do hot yoga, or whatever that is." Now, I get that, right? I get that. But this is different. We're not talking about what you're wearing, where you got your hair done, even in your marriage or divorce. We're talking about your ties to a human trafficking cult, and it's no secret. And there's so much to back that up. We're not even talking about rumors and speculation when it comes to Scientology. And I think this is where the rub is on, saying, well, I don't want to detract from my character. Yeah, but this is not that. This is a different thing in my eyes. And that tends to be the way that a lot of celebrities will address the question about Scientology, is by not talking about it or saying that you need to read a book. Just read a book. Because remember, in Scientology, first rule, don't talk about Scientology. Read a book. Read a book. Don't explain Scientology. So she did go on to, she was on Jimmy Kimmel last night, and I think we got a little clip of that here. And the protesters who showed up, they had questions for Jimmy Kimmel too. And I'll be interested to see if he ever does address that and this issue of Scientology and not asking questions about it. And many of you probably know the way some of these shows work. They interview all these different celebrities, and often their PR team will say, don't ask about this, this, and this. She's not going to address that. And if they do, then they're cut off from, if that PR person is controlling other, even more popular celebrities, they'll deter them from appearing on a certain show or talking to a certain reporter. So it seems like they kind of just play ball with it in that way. What his thoughts are behind the scenes about it, I don't know. And I think that's the question many of us want to know what they are. But let's just take a look at a little bit of that interview from last night on Jimmy Kimmel.
You want to go to, so you might as well get something out of
legitimate.
it. So these people, because this show is, people are very, very, very invested in the show.
They are.
They give you feedback of that type.
Yes, their favorite thing to do is to say lines from the show, and usually yelled at you from the street.
Great.
Or from a passing car. Praise be.
Nice. That's not too bad.
That's a winner. Blessed be the fruit.
So
we've been sent good weather.
You'll be on the street, somebody will, blessed be the fruit.
Yeah. Yes, exactly like that. Some
Huh.
guy, blessed be the fruit. And I'm like, what? Blessed be the fruit. I don't know what to say back. I'm always like, you too. Like,
Are they?
You know, it was pretty. They didn't get into it. They didn't get into the Scientology stuff. It didn't seem like that came out. I didn't watch all of it in its entirety, but I have spoken to people who did, and they're like, yeah, nothing really came out there. She wasn't, you know, giving any insight or answering any questions about Scientology, and neither did he ask. So I think it's great that people from the protest showed up there. We're going to take a peek at a couple of their videos and see what they saw, what was going on. Scotty over at D.O.A, Defender of Ants, was there with multiple people, but let's start with his video because I thought this was so funny. Oh, I am here for all the laughs, people. It's because we need it. We need it at times. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening here. And this is a clip where I'm talking about the big thing to do on Hollywood Boulevard now is tourists joining in and protesting Scientology. We saw it outside of the testing center sometimes too, but I thought this particular clip was funny.
Can't go on the internet.
I know what what Scientology is from
Yeah.
Germany, what I see, and you are against Scientology
Yes.
and protesting against these people.
Yes, the lady who's a Scientologist.
Who's in the TV show?
She's about to be on a TV show today at Jimmy Kimmel. Yes,
Is
sir.
it being filmed right now at the moment?
I'm not sure exactly what time it was.
Isn't that a late night show actually?
Late night. Jimmy
Yeah,
Kimmel.
I'm not sure of the timing.
Yeah, late night.
So they're lining up here and then coming down here. Right. They got, you see that metal detector right there?
Uh-huh.
They have the metal detector there, and then it's like right around the corner there.
There's the TV shows.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. You'll see it in the front. It's like real fancy front. It says Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, I see.
I'm Scotty.
Scotty, good
Yeah.
luck to
Yeah,
you
thank you.
against Scientology.
Yeah.
I see what I know from Germany what Scientology
Still,
is
I know
doing
from in
and things like
Turkey
that.
they are so popular. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is fun
If
when
you
his
want,
friends
we
come
can
up.
support you.
We
Yeah.
support with
Yeah,
you
we
against
Oh, yeah.
Scientology.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Turkey against Scientology.
Yeah,
Turkey against Scientology.
We are from Turkey. Yes.
Ne diyeceğiz abi? Beraber bağıracağız. Tamam.
Evet.
Nasıl diyeceğiz? What should we say?
What should we say? What do you want
But
us
keep
to
it
say?
basically because they don't know English.
Yes. What do they think of Scientology?
Scientology hakkında ne düşünüyorsun?
They don't know
They
anything
don't know
about
English.
it. I know, but
We know that.
they don't know
know.
what Scientology is
Bir
all
çeşit
about.
din.
So
Tamam. Daha dünyada ben düşüncemi söylüyorum.
Yeah.
Dünya tek din İslam dini.
Tamam. O zaman başka bir şey boyuta gidiyor. İyi bilirsin.
Sen şimdi ben şeyi söyleyeyim. Bu protesto ediyor, bağırıyor ya.
Yes.
Ben de aynı bağırmak
He
istiyorum.
wants to yell with you and
Against
support you against them.
Scientology.
Okay.
So
What do you want us to yell?
yeah.
Ne bağıralım diyorum.
Handmaid's Tale is not real.
Handmaid's
Handmaid's
Tale
Tale
is not real.
Not supposed to be real.
Not supposed to be real.
It's not
It's-
supposed to be.
Keep
Yeah.
it basically
complicated.
because
Okay.
he can't say it.
Scientology is a cult.
Scientology is a cult.
Tamam.
He's a call.
Evet,
That-
bağırıyor.
Or
Oh.
stop Scientology.
Stop.
Scientology.
Stop Scientology, okay? We
Stop
do it.
Scientology. Stop Scientology.
Stop Scientology!
Scientology.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes. It's live right now. We got 370 people watching.
Wow.
Thank you. Have good time.
Oh, I thought that was hilarious. And I loved it so much because not even a language barrier can get between people protesting Scientology. It was just so great that they approached and did that. I love that. I love it so much. Oh, and by the way, I am going to have an interview with Scotty, D.O.A, Defender of Ants. We're going to do it this evening. I'll get out a notification. It's probably going to be 5:30 my time, Central Time. I had to reschedule with him on account of getting sick yesterday, but I think I'll be fine and up for it today. So keep an eye out for that. All right, now let's jump over to LARA FM. LARA. LARA FM. I swear one day I'm going to get it. She was there as well, protesting Scientology and asking questions about, Jimmy Kimmel, where he stands on it, and just really calling him out and calling out Elizabeth Moss as well. So let's pop over to LARA FM and see what she saw and what was going on.
Why are you not talking about it if you're so like Scientology has just helped you so much? This is the big thing here. Not even Sea Org members walking by will talk to us. Not even Scientologists walking by will talk to us. Jimmy Kimmel on the subject will not talk to us. Elizabeth Moss will not mention it on her interview. The one thing that's helping her act and do so well, apparently, in life. So this is what we need to expose. This is what we're getting out, guys. Thank you. Nerd report, guys. That's the homie right there.
The nerd report
He
showed
always
up too.
shows up. Guys, did you hear that? I was telling Scott. Should I say Scott or D.O.A. so people know?
Scotty.
Scotty. Okay.
Nerd report was there. The other Squirrel Squad showed up too. Chris Without a Hellcat was there. Confident Chris, Jessica PALMADESSA, and a few others as well. I'm not remembering them all off the top of my head, but again, interesting. They both did such a great job just bringing attention to it. And sometimes I've gotten a lot of comments on, yelling at the crowd of people going in, is that effective or not? Here's why I think it is. Doesn't mean that each person there who's hearing it is going to go look up Scientology. No. Do they think that maybe it's just people who are, they see him as being kind of odd doing this potentially? It's really the attention that it brings. It brings attention from other people too. Like you have Nerd Report there. You have, we have BJ Investigates now doing things on Scientology, other YouTube creators. It brings attention to it. And there are people who maybe later, if they're introduced, if somebody tries to body route them into Scientology, will remember, wait a minute, what was that about Scientology? Sometimes it's a marketing thing. You got to hear a message multiple times before you act on it. So this is just one more time that they're hearing these things about Scientology. For some of them, it may have been the first time. So it takes all kinds of messages delivered in all kinds of way to really make an impact that way and get that message across that people need to look into Scientology and have an understanding of why there is so much outrage about the abuses and why this movement is gaining so much momentum to expose Scientology and to have our elected officials look into the tax exempt status that Scientology has. So I think it's all very interesting. Yesterday, also, Jessica PALMADESSA, Litteraly Serge, they went by the testing center, the Hollywood testing center, which was locked down, windows totally covered. There was one person they could kind of see in the window, and they were wondering what he was doing. But what I found absolutely hilarious, I love how Serge just calls people out on stuff. I call it like he's scolding them. And he does it so well, and I just love it. And he really gave them a piece of his mind, but more so pointed out to them. And this is why I love when the ex-Scientologists are joining people never in Scientology in the protests, because people, especially the ones who were in the Sea organization, know really what the buttons are for Scientology when they're watching this. Scientology is huge with their whole public relations, like they need to not be what they call out PR. You're always out something if you're in trouble in Scientology. You're out PR, you're out ethics, you're out whatever. And being out PR means doing something that creates a public relations issue for Scientology. And this is what blows my mind. I got in trouble back in the day when I was a Scientologist, and I've shared this with you guys before, where I decided it'd be fun to do a strip fitness class. It was a fitness class on a pole. There was no taking off of clothes. And I got totally in trouble with Scientology for it because it was out PR, right? Meanwhile, Scientology over here is calling in fake 911 calls, blaring music, trying to abuse YouTube's copyright system. And how's that out PR? That's not out PR. What you're doing is not out PR, but me, one little person who was nobody really in Scientology, deciding that, I want to try this out. That's out PR. It just really speaks to the craziness of it and how it just doesn't make sense. But here they're headed over, they're in front of the Hollywood Testing Center, and let's see what happened. Oh, I gotta share it.
The building inspection is a total flunk.
Total
Get
flunk.
your ethics.
And they
in.
need to fix this too. Look how bubbly it is.
This is disgusting. I mean, what type of $3 billion not pay for something a little better than this? I mean, this is giving. We do traffic kids after all. Because
This is giving. We do traffic kids after all. Love, love, love Serge. He just has a way of just like cutting right through the BS and telling you exactly what it is. I love that. I thought that was so funny. That was one of my favorite parts. This is giving. We do traffic people after all. Oh my gosh. I'm still laughing. And I watched that multiple times and I still think it was so funny. That was on, I put a link down below. That was on Jessica PALMADESSA's stream. And the next clip I'm going to share as well is from her stream. But this is when when was this? I think this is when she's already over by Jimmy Kimmel. And again, this is Jessica PALMADESSA here on YouTube. I link to everything below. And I encourage you all, if you are not following these people, to subscribe and do so as well. Your support across these different channels hugely helps people to continue to do this, myself included. And I really appreciate it because it's the people never in Scientology who are really adding their voices and making a difference and putting pressure on the people who should be doing something about this. There aren't enough people in the ex-Scientology community to make enough of an impact that way, despite the fact that we have those stories and those behind the scenes. And as Serge would say, we have the receipts. So let's take a look at this. This is outside Jimmy Kimmel, and this is on Jessica PALMADESSA's stream.
Me posting that's crazy.
This is when the ambulance pulls up, and you'll see, but this was a false call targeting Chris without a Hellcat.
No.
Green sweatshirt, black pants.
They're making big calls. Okay, no, they're trying to spook you guys. They're trying to spook you. Big call. There's nothing going on. We don't know. What did they say?
Oh my God.
Cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest.
Someone called and gave Chris's description and said that he's going into cardiac arrest. Thank you. Sorry about that.
They called a fake cardiac arrest call. And they gave Chris's description.
Gave Chris's description and said that he was going into cardiac arrest.
As you can see, Chris is fine. I believe the police scanner said that it was an overdose. And when they showed up, they said cardiac arrest. And I'm sure the two are tied together. I would imagine an overdose often involves cardiac arrest. Don't know a ton about it, but interesting that happened and that he's being targeted that way. It's just another BS ploy, but he is fine. He is fine. That one was like, come on. Now, let's talk about Austin. We need to talk about Austin, Texas. Their ideal organization, the building that they're opening, we know that they've been planning this. Well, they've been talking about it for years. This building, this beautiful building, has sat there empty. And Scientology has put forth multiple applications with the city to shut down streets for their opening. And then they change it because they're not ready to open, really is what the truth is. So they've messed around with the city, and the city's like, hey, we're trying to work with you, but you don't give us enough notice. Because in Scientology, the way they operate is their lack of planning is now your emergency. That's exactly what it comes down to. In Scientology, the C organization especially, if they have, they usually it's a lack of planning because they're listening to David Miscavige. And it's very ineffective. And so then it becomes an emergency for someone else. And the city denied their last permit because it was so last minute. And Pearl, our girl Pearl Snappy over there, and head over to her channel and subscribe because she is bringing it in such a fun way. She's out there protesting Scientology. And you guys might remember Kyle, or Clapping Kyle, as she has started calling him, because he does these videos and goes like with every break. And those have been shared. Aaron from Growing Up in Scientology has some on his channel. I think I have one in one of my videos. And she's out there just doing it, and it's hilarious. So let's take a look. This is Pearl Snappy, and this is Austin, Texas. Why is this not pull it up? Hold on just a second. Hold on. It's just me watching it. Oh, the brain fog is real today. I have cold medicine hangover. Okay. For real this time. Let's take a look. Do I need to back this up? Hold on.
Keep tabs on the permitting process if it's approved. I'm suspecting that it will be, since when I spoke to the permitting people before, they indicated that they were trying to work with COS to get this permit done. So it looks like February 24th is the new date that they're going for. It will be from 2 to 3, the actual ribbon cutting, but I think the good stuff will happen before, as you watch me try to run around and get footage of little Davy and his fake space navy. So further bulletins as events warrant, but for now, 2/24/24.
So she's keeping an eye on that and is going to share updates. So the current date that they've applied for this permit is February 24th. So we'll see, right? Now, here's the thing. They have to do it then. They have to, because they need this footage for their next big propaganda event, which is L. Ron Hubbard's birthday in March. March 13th is his actual birthday. And they need to record this, whole opening in Austin to share it as part of the propaganda for L. Ron Hubbard's birthday, for that big birthday event. So they can't do it in March because of South by Southwest happening and so many events around that. It's just not going to happen. The city doesn't have the resources. And it does sound like the city is trying to work with them, but they keep changing the date. So we will see what happens. I know that she will be on top of it and letting us know, like, okay, here's what the deal is. Here's what the deal is. Now, I mentioned that there's other places where these Scientology First Amendment audits are popping up. And we're going to talk about a new one. Someone sent me a video and I put a link down below. This is, where was this? This was in New York. I believe this is Long Island. Let me just double check on my notes. Yes, Long Island, New York. And give some love to @Liberty121. She just started her First Amendment audit of Scientology in Long Island. And this is what she got.
It'll give you, it's suite 329-2, and the other one is -5. Oh, do we have somebody interested? What? Oh, it's locked. Damn. Totally could have been eaten by Xenu just now. Okay, drop a mail. So close. Do you really want to get involved with them, sir? I don't think so, but okay. All right.
So she's hanging out front, and who knows? I don't know who that guy is or what he's sharing, but definitely give her some love. Get over there and subscribe to her channel, and hopefully she will continue to do this and show us what's happening over there. Because how cool is it to be able to see glimpses into Scientology all over the country? And a lot of what we're seeing is like, look how, beat up a lot of these places are, which is why there's this whole scam, this ideal organization scam that David Miscavige has been pushing for over a decade to get parishioners to pay for buildings and pay for the renovation, which they're then owned by Scientology to just, it's basically you're putting lipstick on a pig is what you're doing. You're saying, well, because we have this big, beautiful building, we must be successful, right? You must accept us because we have these big, beautiful buildings. We're totally legitimate. Don't look over here at the human trafficking. Don't look over here at the harassment that is done to people who want to leave or who have left Scientology, don't look over here at the Scientologists who are being forced to disconnect from their family or people that they care about and love as family because of your doctrine that you claim you don't practice. They claimed years ago, oh no, we don't practice disconnection. One of many lies. Lie, lie, lie. You lie, lie, lie. So it's interesting to see these all over. So again, that was Long Island. And if we head over to Washington State, this is at what's called a Scientology mission. And a Scientology mission is a smaller organization. It goes like this. You're supposed to have like, I think L. Ron Hubbard said you should have 10 missions around every org. So every organization. I don't think that's ever happened. And I could be quoting that wrong, but that's kind of how I remember it. You're lucky if there's one, and they're usually not open full time, and it looks like this. Well, there is one in Linwood, Washington, and someone just started their own Scientology audit outside there. And it's just kind of showing what they saw. And this channel, again, these are their first videos. They're just getting started. That's why I think if we show them lots of love, go in the description later and click on all the links. You'll get to their channel and then subscribe and share your support. Because again, I think it's neat to be able to see in here. Okay, so let's see what happened. This one sped up. The video's that way.
They might be here though. A mission? Why would there be a mission here?
You say, why would they bring a mission here?
I bet that's network up there.
Empty, empty, empty. You get the point. So she's out there though. So head over there, show her some love. I think the more support we can give people who want to do their own Scientology audit, test out that First Amendment and help expose Scientology, I'm here to help you. You can get the word out about it. So I love that this is starting to happen all over. And thank you so much for emailing me at natalie@tonkatalk.com and sharing when you see something, say something, and specific links in videos. If you could say, I'm talking about this and it's at this mark on the video, that helps me to find things faster and will allow me to share more as well. And keep doing it because it's super helpful, even if you think I already saw it. Truly, truly appreciate that. All right, now let's jump over. Let's talk about Mike Rinder and the Aftermath Foundation. Let's talk about what happened yesterday on Rabbit's show, on her live. Let's jump into a little bit of that, and then we will discuss. We will discuss. We will discuss. Make sure you like this video and make sure you subscribe. Check your subscribe button. All right, so let's take a look. We're just going to take a look at a little bit. She's sharing a letter that she got from an attorney representing the Aftermath Foundation after she sent, I think it was 16 or so questions to Mike Rinder in response to an ex-Scientologist who had been on the Aftermath, who was seeking help in obtaining an affidavit for something in the legal world that she's doing having to do with what happened to her. And as I understand it, I don't know why. I think Rabbit's going to have her on and interview her, and we'll really get kind of the full backstory. I don't know why she didn't get it, but she didn't. And so Rabbit sent in her questions, and this was the response.
And I promise you, okay, I'm only going to get into this letter today, but I promise you we're really going to get into the weeds of things. Why all of this is where it's at, what exactly happened. We're going to get into the weeds of things. I promise you that. So I got this letter I emailed Mr. Mike Rinder, and I got this letter from one of their attorneys, which basically says, Dear Alex the Rabbit and Down the Rabbit Hole News, I'm the general counsel of the Aftermath Foundation, nonprofit charitable organization whose purpose is to help those who want to leave Scientology and the Sea Org and lack a system of support that they can rely on while transitioning to the world outside of Scientology. This letter responds to and addresses the email you sent this date to Aftermath Foundation board member Mike Rinder, in which you seek his comment on a series of questions you enumerate 1 to 16. We respectfully request you include this letter in its entirety in any YouTube discussion you conduct regarding Miriam Francis allegations as part of your Down the Rabbit Hole News public platform. Okay? Each of the 16 questions you propound on Miss Francis' behalf are crafted to assume discreditable facts. Discreditable facts that impugn Mike Rinder and the Aftermath Foundation's moral character and integrity, respectively. Each of the 16 questions thus assumes one or more facts, one or more facts, the truth of which Mr. Rinder and the Aftermath Foundation completely dispute. Benjamin Franklin and many others have noted, "He that lieth down with dogs shall rise up with fleas." Based on the structure of your questions and Mr. Franklin's wisdom, we respectfully decline your invitation for any further engagement.
I linked to her whole live down below. So let's talk about this. I don't know what her questions were. My curiosity has been going, like, I wonder what the questions are. I'd love to see them because maybe I would just love to see them because I'm curious as to what prompted that. There's nothing that I can see as a question that would, well, let me just start with this. I think that response was ridiculous. And here's why. This is from where I sit, okay? I want to also say it's that all of us, even me, we see things from where we sit, from our point of view, based on where we came from and our experiences, okay? And this is why I feel it's so important to try and look at things from somebody else's point of view, look at it from a different angle, question it from a different angle, so we can have a larger understanding of whatever it is that we're looking at. And from what I've seen, I mean, you guys know I'm fairly new on the YouTube scene here in the SPTV community. When I first left Scientology 13 years ago, Mike Rinder helped me and my family with that and connected us we did a Tampa Bay Times article about coerced abortions that even my daughter participated in. There are things that the Aftermath Foundation has done to help people, and they'll continue to do that. I'm not knocking any of that. Those two things can exist in my head, that the Aftermath Foundation has helped people and done good things, that Mike Rinder himself did help my family when we left. I can also hold in my head my truth that how things were handled with Aaron being voted off the board, I don't agree with how that was handled. I think it could have been done better. I don't agree with the way that there was a response to what happened by Mike Rinder and Claire Headley and Mark Headley. And it's the same thing with this letter, with this response from their lawyer. And what I see from where I sit is there seems to be a bit of a disconnect from people, from the people, from all of you, from people who are supporting ex-Scientologists, who are supporting this mission of exposing Scientology and bringing awareness to it. And the responses often come across as kind of condescending and a little pompous. That's how they're coming across. But does that take away from the good stuff they've done? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I think they would benefit greatly by, and I don't know what it would take for this to happen, but by just recognizing how things are different today. How you might have communicated 10 years ago or 15 years ago is very different from how people communicate and address issues today, because the internet, live streaming, all of that has really changed that. You can reach so many more people, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can reach so many people when you kind of crap the bed on things at the same time. So my question, I've been thinking about this, and what I would love to see, honestly, and I don't know if he would do it, I would love to sit down and talk to Mike Rinder live and get some of these questions answered, because they're not even questions for me to answer. They're really questions for him to answer. I don't, based on the response in that email, I'm not sure that that would happen, but I wanted to put that out there. I am more than willing to sit down and have an open mind and communicate and ask questions if Mike Rinder is willing to share with all of you and see if we can't, maybe, is there some understanding he can bring to why they've chosen to handle things the way that they have. I'm not saying that how they handled it was right or that it needs to be justified. I just want to give an opportunity to speak on it. When Aaron was falsely arrested in Los Angeles, and that we all know Scientology was behind that, I would have liked to seen that being addressed, regardless of whatever differences we might have as creators on YouTube, on and off, as people who share a desire to expose Scientology and stop the abuses. That still stands. There will be disagreements. There will be personality clashes. That's why it's so great to have so many different platforms and so many different creators that you can follow, because you'll connect with some more than others, right? Mike Rinder still has his audience on YouTube, still has people who follow his channel, and, Mark Headley as well. There are different people that you can follow for different opinions about Scientology. But what I think would benefit them greatly if there would be more open dialogue about, and just being real about it. Here's what happened. Here, we heard from them on why. We heard their side of the story, their narrative for why Aaron was voted off of the board. And we've also heard Aaron's. I'm not even saying, like, let's get into the weeds about that. In my mind, it's more of an issue with not understanding the importance of acknowledging the tremendous amount of support that people outside of Scientology who've never been in have brought to this. And they've been very supportive for a while and are even more supportive today. So in my mind, the people, all of you, deserve answers to these questions, especially being a nonprofit where there should be, an openness and level of accountability on these questions. If you've supported this organization and you want to continue to support it, they do good work. They're going to continue to do good work. There's also some things they've done that's kind of messed up. Both things are true. In my mind, it's not a matter of picking a side, right? I think that it's really, if we look at this and we try to look at this like, okay, what's going to move the needle forward? I think for them, and by them, I mean on the Aftermath Foundation, there needs to be more open dialogue and be open to answering these questions. And you know what? Take the hit. Take the hit if you get it, because there's pushback because of the way that certain things were communicated and the way that they were done. And just trying to hide from that or avoid that will only work for so long. And it is a tactic sometimes to not, if a celebrity gets in trouble in the press, they're often advised, don't talk about it. It'll die down. The news cycle will change. This is not that situation. This is something that I know personally I would like to see more resolved. I don't like when there's conflict or dust up amongst people who really have the same goal in mind in terms of exposing Scientology and helping people get out of Scientology and helping people not get into Scientology. There's a scenario where, it just doesn't need to be like this. And what I would ask him, what I would like to know is, what is the thought process behind not addressing Aaron's arrest, the protests that are going on, answering difficult questions? They have their right to not. They do, completely. And if they don't want to respond to that, that's well within their right to not want to respond to that. I'm just saying that I think that it would move the needle forward if they did. And I would love to be, I don't know what that would be, not a mediator, but I would love to sit down and share with all of you a conversation with Mike Rinder or even Mark Headley or even Claire on, is there a thought process behind not mentioning, not really getting into the other things that are happening in terms of the protests and whatnot? That's my thought on it. Because it's just to respond in the way that they did through an attorney, just more beefs up that feeling or idea that, well, we don't need to answer your questions. And you know what? They don't at the end of the day. Let's be honest, right? They don't. But if you want the community support, if you want the community to support what you're doing, then you got to answer the difficult questions. I get a lot of questions. Honestly, don't test me on this, but I know you guys will. Haven't really been any that I've been uncomfortable. Well, some I've been uncomfortable answering, but I did anyways. If I miss one, it's because I just literally missed it. This thing scrolls up pretty fast and I'm getting used to catching them all. And sometimes it's really about the amount of time that I have for a particular live stream versus, not wanting to answer the question. I think it's important for me too, to answer questions that are even difficult questions, because to me then you create more of an open dialogue and some transparency. And it doesn't mean that people can't change their minds either, right? I know I feel differently about a lot of things in Scientology. I see it differently than I did even when I first left. So hopefully that makes sense. But I would like to officially invite Mike Rinder to join me on the channel and have a chat about some of these questions in a way. It's not my intention to play any type of gotcha or anything like that, or that I'm just going to stick it to him. That is not my intention. I am interested in what the truth is, because I think no matter what the truth is, we can then deal with that. It's easier to deal with the truth when it really is what's going on. If his answer was, well, frankly, I just don't like engaging with people and I don't, it's not as important to me, fine. I just want to know what it is, because it just doesn't make sense to me what the way that they've chosen to really not answer these questions doesn't make sense to me. Hello, Telperion, thank you so much for the super chat. Hey, Natalie, love your new interview series, SPTV in tears. That's not on purpose, people. Yes, it seems like every guest I've had on so far has ended up crying, but we talk about difficult things and it's so raw and they're so honest about it that that's going to happen. Yes, gets me every time. I hope interviewees feel the same. I think they do. It can be healing to let it out. I agree 100%. I think it's very healing to let it out. And I think it's important to do so. MT Kaysen, I thought this was a good point. Like BJ Investigates pointed out, Scientology is the largest donor to LA emergency services. I have to believe they have some influence behind that incident like so many others. That's true. We heard that Scientology is the largest donor to LA emergency services. So maybe that's why they show up. Clea, do you think Jimmy Kimmel is aware of what really happens in Scientology, or do you think they feed him BS and put on an act to make it seem like they're a good religion? Yes and yes. I don't know how much he is aware of. I don't see how he can't. He gets to go freely on the internet and look at what he wants to. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I don't know if he's done a deep dive. There are many people in the media and even YouTube creators who haven't done a deep dive, who are just starting to learn about it and now starting to then do something about it by lending their voice, investigating and sharing what they found. And yes, I do think they feed him BS. Absolutely. Susan Jacobson, can you discuss silent birth in Scientology and how it had a negative reaction with Katie Holmes birthing Suri? I don't know what happened when Katie Holmes birthed Suri. I gave birth naturally 3 times, 2 times intentionally. The 3rd time was an accident. I meant to get a shot. And it was because of my indoctrination in Scientology, because L. Ron Hubbard says that you should have a silent birth, because of how it can affect the mental health, the reactive mind, as it's called in Scientology, of Scientologists and also the baby. So I think it's a bunch of BS, and you should make your decisions to give birth any way that you think is best for you and your family. That's really what it always should have been. Tan Louie, have you ever been to the UK? Yes, I have. How is she allowed to be pregnant? So Elizabeth Moss, she can be pregnant. Only C organization members cannot have children. If you're a regular staff member or a Scientology public, you can. Erica, she's famous. She does the shows she wants, does things the Church of Scientology wouldn't approve of. So what's the point benefit to her to stay? Is it just to avoid admitting she was wrong if she left? That's a great question. I think part of it is it's sometimes hard when you start realizing that you're in a cult to admit that you're in a cult. It's harder for some people than others. Her parents are Scientologists. You know, there's the whole family dynamic. I don't know how involved she is or isn't. It's the same for any Scientologist. When you're raised in it and you have this mindset and you have these blinders up, the brainwashing and the mind control is strong, especially if she's done the upper levels of Scientology, which, as I understand it, she has. Clea, I saw Elizabeth Moss is married to Fred Armisen, and his wiki says he's atheist. Is that allowed, or are they probably trying to pressure him to join? You as a public person in Scientology, technically you can marry who you want, but you will be pressured to bring that person into Scientology. I think when I see a Scientologist marrying someone not in Scientology and the person, they don't bring them in there. How could you have kids together unless it's good to have that discussion of, hey, how are we going to raise our children, right? Before you have a child with somebody. Doesn't always work out that way, but you'd want to know. And it didn't seem that he ever was going to jump on board with Scientology, which could possibly, I'm only speculating, have something to do with why they're no longer married. Because, in Scientology, eventually you just get a lot of pressure on you to be with a Scientologist. In the Sea Organization, there's a lot of pressure to, if you're going to be married to a Sea Organization member within your level of the organization. It's very much like a caste system in ways, where marrying outside your level in the Sea Organization is not allowed. They will separate couples for that. Pocono Pluck. Is it just me, or does the concept of being interrogated by Serge in a locked room make you shake? It would be scary. Yeah. Scientologists don't see it that way at the time. They might be uncomfortable by the questions, but they're indoctrinated to believe that this is for their own good, that this is for their own well-being. At the time, they're not thinking I'm locked in a room and I'm being interrogated. And when you start thinking like that, means the blinders are starting to come off. It's like the Truman Show in Scientology. And that's I'm dating myself. That's a movie that Jim Carrey was in, where he went around and what he found out with this fake world being created for the pleasure of people watching him in this show. And within Scientology, it's like that. That's why I'll compare it to North Korea and the propaganda. It's a lot of propping up people and places to give this illusion that Scientology is successful. Hardcore Vlogs. Did Natalie see the comments on the Jimmy Kimmel video? Some of them. They were hilarious. And I'm glad people are calling him out for it. Ganani. Not many people know that Elizabeth Moss is a Scientologist. That's true. I found out about it on SPTV and told my husband, and he got mad because it ruined the show for him. Amanda, doesn't this letter Rabbit got remind you of a letter Scientology sent to the Aftermath shows? Ironic. Yes, it's lawyer speak. Now, the comment at the end about fleas and dogs. You lay down with dogs and you get fleas. This is the problem. That, again, is an example of the problem. You could just say, at this time, we're choosing not to comment. Something like that. Why you got to take a dig? And I say that as someone who takes digs at Scientology all the time. But when you're representing a nonprofit that's helping people, right? They have done good work and they will continue to do things to help. I'm not taking away from that. These two thoughts can exist, that they're not responding in ways that I think are helpful. And based on comments, it sounds like a lot of you feel the same way. But also, they did good stuff. Just because you do good works doesn't give you free reign either. There's an accountability in my mind, in my opinion. When you have a nonprofit and you're taking money from people, it's great that you're doing good things and you're helping people with it. But when the people who are contributing have questions about it, I think it's my opinion that those questions should be answered, that they should be addressed. And at a minimum, should be some care given to letting people know that, we hear you and, we learn, we do better. There's not a person alive walking on this earth who hasn't showed up at some point in their life or done something and later realized, oh my gosh, that was so insensitive. That was so out of touch. It's okay to make those mistakes and then own it and then want to learn so you can do better, be better. We see that all the time in multiple generations. With each generation, there's new words and things that we realize, hey, that's not okay. We should have never said that to people. We should have never used it in that way. And then we get better. The difference is, do you change? When you learn more, do you actually do better, or will you try to just be exactly as you were before? But I think that the accountability, especially with a nonprofit, should be there, especially when the questions are coming from people who have supported it in the past. Maria Martins, with people everywhere outside orgs and others, how come little Davy can escape process servers? Where is he? That's the $1 million question. He's hiding somewhere. They're really good at that. That's, they got all these cameras everywhere. They see a process server coming from a mile away. Scientology can sniff out a process server like a truffle pig. I mean, except for the guy who just walked in the door of the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles a few days ago. Remember that guy just like walked straight in and with his process serving, and I do believe served. Leaving Scientology. Can you let me be in your studio tonight and the weekend to start comments for you? Send you an email with how to set that up. You can ask AA Ron if you talk to him before 2:30. Yeah, shoot me an email, Natalie@tonkatalk.com, and let's talk about it. I get names confused. So leaving Scientology, that's Lewis, right? Somebody tell me. I've been wanting to reach out to you anyways, if it is. I saw your video about the, the mocked up e-meter. I was just watching that this morning. So let's chat. Ellie, don't you think it would be interesting to see how much money Mike and the Headleys pay themselves for being on the board? That should be, if it's not already, that should be public record. That's part of, well, you know what? I should say, I don't know all the rules about a nonprofit. My opinion, I think that should be disclosed because it's like well, here's the example that the closest thing I can compare it to. If you take a city, like take the city where any of you live, let's say Los Angeles, there's a budget for the city and that budget is public. You know where the money's going. And I don't know a ton about nonprofits, but it seems like that should be the same way. I just don't know what the rules are around it. So I'm not completely sure how to answer that, but in my opinion, I agree. I think so, definitely. Maria says, I don't think Aaron would have been involved with the aftermath for so long if they were evil or were doing irrepressible things. They need to be transparent, yes, but we need to separate the waters. I think I get what you're saying, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier. It doesn't take away from the good works. One does not cancel out the other, but both can also be true at the same time. I support the good work that you're doing. I have questions about the way that you're responding and showing up for these things. Those are two, they can both exist at the same time. I don't think it needs to be, well, and everybody has a choice too, right? That's the beauty of it. You as an individual have a choice on who you want to support, who you want to subscribe to, and you should exercise that. I think that because of the large number of people who supported Mike Rinder and the Aftermath Foundation, that's why I just think it would be great to have him on and answer some questions if he'd be willing to do that. All right, I'm just catching up. Bo Beats, thank you for the super chat. My last super chat, when you were feeling the feels, got me a damn you, Bo Beats response. Could I get a bless me today? Got a damn you, Bo Beats? My last super chat when you were feeling the feels. Oh, did you make me cry? Definitely bless you today. Still so stuffy. I'm definitely feeling better. Thank you so much, Maxi 2022, for the super chat. Proud to be an SP dog. They are sweet and love unconditionally, and I have never gotten fleas. That's the thing. To just stop responding like that. I mean, that's my advice. That's my 2 cents. You do you all day long, right? But I think that it would be helpful to not. It's so cold. It's so them, us. And my approach is this. I say it all the time. I have so much appreciation for all of you. I am doing a YouTube channel today solely because of the support from all of you. especially those of you never in Scientology. And I say that because people who've been ex-Scientologists, ex-Sea Org members, that's like family. And it's also family with you, those of you never in Scientology who are supporting us and supporting these different things. It doesn't mean family always agrees, right? But you can still get together and have a good time and get stuff done. Kelly H., thank you so much for the super chat. A united front against Church of Scientology is the goal. When I see personal attacks on former cult members in swarms of comments, I see a win for the Church of Scientology. Heartbreaking. I totally get that. 100%. And when this was first, this blew up before I got on YouTube, just before. And so it's not something, if I was on at that time, I probably would have had this conversation earlier, but I wasn't. I came after. And I'm with you. It's at the end of the day, sharing the same goal of exposing Scientology for what it is the goal. And anybody who's doing that and supporting that, I'm all for it. But it doesn't mean that we all agree, right? There's always going to be differences. There's always going to be some level of drama that way. It's my goal in this, in talking about it now, is to encourage, whether it's the Aftermath Foundation board or Mike Rinder himself, to let's have a conversation about it. And I feel like that's what I think a lot of you want, is you want these things addressed. Let's talk about Aaron being arrested. It, like, in my mind, if they would have talked about it more, actually, I'm not sure that they talked about it at all. Talked about it, addressed the protests, and join in on this tipping point. This is so different in the world of Scientology and ex-Scientologists. There's just so much more that can be gained by being more united on that. And I feel that we can be united and still disagree on certain things. I think that's part of, kind of just being more of an adult about it. It's like, it's co-parenting. You get a divorce. Doesn't mean you can't still co-parent and keep it kosher. And you can still work together to make sure that you're raising a child who's going to be well adapted, who is going to be happy, and who sees love from both sides. In my mind, all of you guys are the children. And when your parents are fighting, that's never good. That doesn't feel good. It's also not necessary. And what does it take for that to happen? It usually takes some open dialogue between those parents, between those people. And, they don't need to come on my channel. They can go on, anyone else's. I'm just putting it out there that I would love to have a conversation about these things. Terry says, I think just support who you choose and don't throw shade at others. Aftermath is still doing good work. Aaron will do good work. Make your choice and move on. I think that a lot of people did make their choice in that way and moved on. And I'm really excited about the foundation that Aaron and others are going to get going and being able to support that as well. I think this is coming up again now just because of another response that is kind of, it triggered us. I think it threw a lot of people back to what happened before with Aaron. It was very triggering because of the response, the vibe, the feel, or I should say the lack of feel. And that's different today. Today, how we communicate and how we share things, you can't just put out a statement and then that's it. You can, people do it. But on the internet, on YouTube, this is about community and community exchanges, ideas. I speak to you guys, you speak to me. I ask you questions, you ask me questions. For me, in my mind, that is what's going to win the day, is having a two-way line of communication there. And I think that that's what's missing with the Aftermath, because they're just kind of walling off this whole section of history and answering those questions. And it doesn't mean that because they answer the questions, it's not still going to be difficult at times. I just think it would help. Thank you so much for the super chat. Tell Prion. If I remember correctly, the members of the Aftermath Foundation don't get any compensation. Yeah, I actually have no idea. I do not know. Maybe it says on their website or so. That would be, that would be good to know. I just want, and maybe because, again, like I was saying on YouTube, it's different. There's people want, I'll use myself as an example. I like interaction with creators when I'm following them or I'm supporting them. I like the interaction with other people who do. It's part of what makes it fun. Laisha, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Maria, yes, thank you so much for the super chat. And yes, smash it, like button, subscribe button. We're close, people. We're close to hitting our 10,000. Litteraly Serge hit 10,000 the other day when he was in the middle of his interview. That was so awesome. I want to hit that too. I would love it if we hit it before the end of the week so that we can do Tony's live on the weekend, because during the day it'll be better. All right, here is what we're going to do. Here is what we're going to do, because we are running short on time here. Keep your questions coming. Put them in the comments. You know how to reach me by email. And let's just keep having the conversation about it as things move on and what happens. I think it'd be fun to maybe dive into some of the comments on Jimmy Kimmel tomorrow. Maybe we'll do that. I'll be watching what happens today out there in Scientology world as far as the internet goes. Thank you, as always, for your support. And most importantly, get out there today and just have an amazing cult-free day.